Welcome to the Modern Yogi Podcast. An exploration of ancient wisdom.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. We are on episode number
51.
Thank you for joining us. I mean, to be honest, when I started this whole thing, I didn't know how many episodes we would make it up to. And last episode, we were at 50. So I'm really proud.
A big milestone.
I'm really proud.
Next episode will be at 1 year of doing this.
Oh, wow. I thought you would be like, next episode is 52. And I was like, good job, Priya. You can count,
That's
but good
funny.
job. 1 year of doing it. Good point.
Oh, my goodness.
We are
That's
just
awesome.
so grateful for this opportunity to talk about what we love, to be all connected in this through service. We believe in this. This text has changed our lives. So we're so happy to be able to engage in the conversation that started 5,000 years ago, right? On the battlefield of Kurukshetra with Krishna and Arjuna. And we're just partaking in this ongoing conversation, which is so relevant and applicable into our day-to-day life.
Yeah, and the conversation is very deep too. So there are times where we're going to get into some really heavy things. So if there's any comments, questions, concerns, please let us know. Send us a DM at
Where?
Modern Yogi Podcast
At Modern Yogi Podcast.
At Modern Yogi Podcast.
on Instagram, and we will be sure to get back to you and answer those questions.
Yes,
All right.
indeed.
We are on chapter 7. So quick recap of our last episode.
Yes, basically, I mean, it's been kind of on the same theme. We've been moving pretty slowly. So if you watched the last episode, you know we're just talking about the qualities of Krishna, who he is, what the universe comprises of, how it just all the minute details of who Krishna is. We're just trying to get to know better who he is and just develop that connection. And last episode we talked about sex
life.
baby.
Yeah, we talked about
Let's talk
sex.
about you and me.
We did talk about it, which is not
did.
contrary to religious principles. Yeah.
That's right. And if you are curious, you can go check it out. But for now, we're going to start on chapter 7, text 12. Yes?
All right. Yes. Invocation, ladies, please.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Translation. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Beautiful. And what rang in my ears is Krishna is the intelligence in man. So he is giving us the intelligence. We're sincerely, through these invocation prayers, asking to be able to dive deeper in our knowledge, in our realizations, and just really discover the magic in this text that will come to life the more we surrender.
Beautifully said. I want to snap. I want to snap. That was poetry. That was really good. I enjoyed that. All right. Priya Darshini, take it away. Text number 12.
Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my, Krishna's energy. I, Krishna, am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I, Krishna, am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me, Krishna.
Ooh.
So, right, we've talked about in this world, everything's governed by these modes, these gunas, goodness, passion, ignorance, and they come in different shades, varieties, flavors that exist within everything and everyone.
Like places. Goodness. Name a goodness place.
The
Temple.
lake, nature,
Yes.
temple,
Love
Nice.
it. Great. Well, name a passion place.
the club.
Stock exchange.
Central
What did you did you say? Did you say central stench?
I was going to say Central Station, and then you said something else, and my mouth just got
Central
confused.
stench. Central station. Like Grand Central Station.
Like the trains.
Train station.
It's passion.
All right, you ready? Ignorance.
The club at like 4 a.m. when everyone's wasted and lying around, just totally out of it.
Yeah.
Like video game den.
Oh my God, yeah. When they're like zombies.
You know, they're just like, everyone's playing video games and they're like,
Oh my God, that's such a good.
I know I'm putting a face that you can't see on the audio. But imagine just like, like when you're just, you know, like a place where they just do this for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Like
That's a
mind
really
dead,
good example.
zombie
Very good example.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anything can be in this. So food can be in goodness, passion, ignorance. Places, like we
Music.
just talked about, music, people.
well, people have different percentages of
yes.
it, but Yes.
But everything in this world can be put into these 3 categories of goodness, passion, and ignorance.
And they're not stagnant categories. Like we're trying to elevate our consciousness and do things that attract more mode of goodness, being in a lifestyle where we can go within. So a lot of our spiritual life depends on how well we can arrange our material lives to make room for spiritual growth.
Yeah. So in this particular text, Krishna is saying that because of his energy, goodness, passion, and ignorance exist. But there's a very big but here. He's saying, I am independent. I am not controlled by them. I am not, because all of us are controlled by them. And what that means is like, if we're feeling passionate, we might be like, oh, I got to eat. I got to do this. I got to do that. Like you might have that kind of energy. If you're feeling mode of ignorance, you're like, oh, I'm so tired. I just feel like not so good. Right. All of these things affect us on a daily. But Krishna is saying, I'm independent. These things don't affect me. If anything, they come from me. So like,
right.
Sorry, go ahead.
We've talked about Krishna as the source of everything. Everything comes from him, even the bad stuff that we have. But that's why we're breaking down his energies, because we talk about his superior energy and his inferior energy. So everything in the material world comes from his inferior external energy. It doesn't affect him. It comes from him, but that's not who he is. Then our souls and that purity, that comes from his superior internal nature, because Krishna is full of knowledge, bliss, eternality. He's not those material things, but that's why I love how they break down the internal inferior nature or energy and the external, I got that backwards. The internal superior nature or the external inferior energy.
Okay, so I wanted to give this example. So basically, I have a corn analogy. Okay,
corn.
So yeah, corn. Just stay
like
with
the
me.
vegetable.
Yeah,
Okay,
vegetable.
just
Okay.
checking.
So what Krishna's trying to say, okay, that he is not affected by goodness, passion, ignorance. So like,
Right.
let's say that there's 3 things in front of him. Let's say that there is like corn, which is goodness, right? Healthy, fresh. Just why are you laughing?
I'm not laughing. I'm listening. I'm listening.
So corn, right? Krishna can eat the corn, not be affected.
Yeah.
And then if he's, feeling a little bit more passionate, he can eat flaming hot Cheetos. Okay. Right?
Okay.
But he's
think
not
he
going to
would,
have
but-
diarrhea. Okay. The point, just let me finish the analogy. Okay.
Okay.
All right. He can eat the flaming hot Cheetos, not be affected. Okay. All right. And then let's just say there's moldy Cheetos. Okay. If either one of us, any one of us, eat the moldy Cheetos, we're going to get sick. We're probably going to have to take antibiotics. It's going to come out all ends. It's not going to be good for us, right? But
Lord.
Krishna can eat any one of these 3 and he'll be fine. Whereas if we eat, either the passionate flaming hot Cheetos or the rotten. What was the last
Mode
thing?
of passion, the
Ignorant.
the
Moldy
Cheetos.
Cheetos.
Yeah, the moldy Cheetos. That's what I said. If we eat the moldy Cheetos, it's just not going to be good for our body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's essentially, that's what this verse
That's
is talking about.
exactly what
right?
the verse is
Boom,
saying.
nailed it. Bhagavad Gita win. Thank you. Solo clap. Appreciate that. I'll be here all week, guys.
There we go.
Wait, what else? Anything else, guys?
That's it. I mean, he's just saying he's not really affected by them. He is a creator. They come from him. We are affected. He is not. He is independent.
Right. They come from him, but he's not affected by them.
That's it. That's kind of the gist of this one.
Nailed
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
The landing. Touche.
All right. Text 13, Shama Sangita.
All right, 13. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who I am. Sorry. I just had a brain fart.
Did not stick the landing.
The words
You got
started
it, you got
jumbling.
it.
Okay. All right. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible.
Inexhaustible.
It's
confusing.
No, it is
Wait, I
little-
feel like there's a word missing here.
It's just continuing it, but it's a little hard to read. So
Know me. Yeah, go ahead, please.
the
For the love
whole
of God.
world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible.
So Krishna is above the modes and inexhaustible.
Right. And we don't know him. That's the gist. So
Right.
That's very
because of
similar to the
the
last verse, right?
because of the corn and the hot Cheetos and then the moldy Cheetos.
Yeah.
we get so confused and so diseased that we are not able to.
You're right. That's how we felt hearing her analogy. It was just so confused.
Shut up. I know you loved my analogy.
No, I
great
did love
analogy.
it. I'm kidding, but I'm going off of the world is confused and diseased by the modes. So playing off of
Touche.
Yeah.
No,
Very
yeah.
good.
So,
But this is very similar to the last verse, right?
yeah.
If anything, you're good at bringing this text to life, Shama Sangita.
Thank you. I know you reached really hard for that compliment,
No,
but
I didn't. I promise you, sincerely.
But I'll take it. I will take it. And thank you so much. I appreciate you appreciating me.
I appreciate you appreciating me appreciating you.
Oh my goodness.
So the next time you're at a grocery store and you see flaming hot Cheetos, I want you to think of this podcast,
You're
okay?
gonna think of the mode of passion.
No, don't try not to eat them, because have you guys had flaming hot, ever had like a lump sum
No.
of flaming hot Cheetos? Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I no.
I don't want to talk about it on the
Anywho.
podcast. Okay, go ahead.
So if we go on to talk about the purport of this text, the Prabhupada is talking about there are 4 different classes of men. And this is something we've talked about before, but here he kind of breaks it down based on the goodness, passion, and ignorance. So he says that those who are in the mode of goodness are called brahmanas. And we talked about brahmanas before as being the scholars, the priests. These kinds of people who are more in the mode of
Knowledgeable,
goodness.
yeah.
Yes, knowledgeable. Then those who are purely in the mode of passion are called kshatriyas. And kshatriyas are those
Warriors.
warriors.
Arjuna is a Satriya.
They have a lot of testosterone. Not necessarily, because women can also be kshatriyas, but the idea, I mean, women can have testosterone. Never mind, I take it all back. Yes.
That's true.
So yes,
They're
it's
just very
this
strong warriors.
passion. It's like very like, wow, you know, that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Wait. Make a noise for a goodness. Shama.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Pikachu.
That was good. That was good.
That's good.
Yeah.
She put you on the spot and you came up with that. Good job.
You did it. That was
Improv.
good.
That was good improv.
Okay, so
And you know, side note before you continue to the next class, also Arjuna's example shows you that you can channel your nature into service, because he's a Satriya and he's in the mode of passion. But we're not saying don't have passion, just be goodness. Arjuna's channeling his Satriya nature into fighting this war to support Krishna, to support goodness, the
protect
reestablishment
people.
of religiosity, you know? So you can use your nature in anything.
Well, actually, it goes on to explain that a little bit further, like how. Anyways, so these are the 4 classes, right? So we just said mode of goodness. What's the sound for it?
Pika.
Very good. Mode of passion. You know, like a lot of fire, a lot of the kshatriyas, right? Then we got those who are in the modes of both passion and ignorance at the same time.
Pikachu.
No,
Passion and
Pikachu.
ignorance.
Passion and ignorance. We haven't. She got excited. She really wanted to. Okay, they're called Vaishyas. All right, and Vaishyas are usually merchants,
Business people.
right?
Yeah.
So they have that passion, but they're also kind of like a little bit of that ignorance is there
Yeah.
too.
So
I don't know
what
how
would be
else to
the
put it.
noise for Vaishyas?
Brains. No, that's complete ignorance. Yeah.
That is-
I was
that's-
trying to do a zombie.
Passion.
No, by merchant.
Give me the money.
Yeah.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Going once, going twice over there. I'm like dealing and willing. Sold.
Maybe. But anyways, you get the idea. And then those who are completely in the mode of ignorance are called Shudras, right? And we talked about those people, you know. It's not to say
Laborers.
they're laborers. It's not necessarily
They're
a bad
workers.
quality.
Yeah.
It's just sort of this life in which you just work for like the basics. It's like a really cyclical lifestyle in which you're like, I get up, I work, I make money, I come back.
Yep.
I eat, I sleep, I do the same things all the time.
Yep.
It's kind of stuck in that ignorance of there's more, you know?
Yeah.
And if anyone found these noises offensive, they were just supposed to be humorous, because actually all castes can be used in devotional service.
Yes, correct.
You know,
Yeah.
Don't need to offend anybody.
merchants.
And most of
so
those-
many merchants are spiritualists who are actually using their talents for
Oh,
good.
yeah.
So like,
And to be fair, most of us are Shudras.
Yeah.
Because most of us are working class, like just living
We're
everyday
trying
life in
to
the rat
elevate,
race.
yeah.
Most of us, I mean, that's what Prabhupada says later on. But anyways,
Right.
it also says that those who are, also Shudras can be those who are of less than, they're animals or less than animal life. So like plants, trees, that's another qualification.
right.
Anyways, it says, however, these designations are not permanent.
Exactly.
I may either be a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although life is temporary and we do not know what we're going to be in our next life, by illusion, we consider ourselves in terms of these bodily conceptions of life. And we think that we're American, Indian, Russian, a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, a Shudra, Hindu, Muslim, etc., and all these things.
Right. We just slowly go becoming more and more entangled with the modes of material nature, because the line that starts off this whole purport is the whole world is enchanted by the modes of material nature, which it only just ends up bewildering us further and further to the point where we just totally lose sight and can't understand the transcendental spiritual nature. So even though we're not these designations, we just become slowly more and more entangled.
Yeah, I also think about this in like a practical sense. Like if we've had many, many thousands of lifetimes, what's the right way of saying it? Lives, just lives.
Life.
What means in one of them you could have been a scholar, in another you could have been a Kshatriya, in another one you could have been you could have lived through all of these.
Yeah,
these are all just temporary to aid you in a particular purpose, right?
Yep.
Like for Arjuna, he's a Kshatriya. That's helpful for him because he is now put in this position where he gets to have this amazing conversation with Krishna, right? Like these things are circumstantial based on desires and a bunch of other things, but they're not necessarily a designation that's like you are forever in the lowest class or this or that. It's not about that, right? It's about understanding how we best fit in, like how we can best be of service too, right? Whether we are the ones that want to teach others and give knowledge, or whether we are the ones that want to protect others and be, Kshatriyas. Or like these are just kind of to represent how we fit into society and how we can also elevate ourselves through understanding what our skills are, right?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. We talked about in one of the previous episodes that it's good if you can recognize what are your natural talents, skills, and gifts, because then you can take it a step further and recognize these were given to me by Krishna, who's the ability in man, who gives us all of our skills. Let's use it in service, because no matter how good of a singer, or how charismatic we are, or how good of a salesman we are, if we don't utilize that in service and to give back in some way, then what a waste. Yeah. What doesn't really matter? You're the most charming person out there, whatever.
That's true. Yeah. So going back to the verse, is Krishna is just saying that he is above these three modes.
Right.
Right? Anything else for text number 13?
I like how they talk about that. They talk about the material background. I like how they use the word background, because they say when we become so confused by the modes of nature, we don't understand that behind the material background is the supreme personality of Krishna. So it's almost like a stage. This is all just a backdrop for us we have to understand we are just passengers in this world. We're here briefly to grow, evolve, and reconnect with our source. So this is all a background or a stage for us to do that.
We're just in the Uber of life.
The Uber of life.
Sometimes it's an Uber pool.
Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
All right, text number 14. Shall we?
You know that children's song, Priya?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Text 14.
Okay. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it, says Krishna.
I love this. So I know that, Priya, you have a lot, taking us through this. But I think overall, these modes actually come from Krishna, right? Yeah. And I think I mentioned this before, is the modes are kind of run by this goddess named Maya, right?
Yeah.
And so if we jump in at any point, but the goddess Maya, she is that material illusory, is that the right word?
Illusionary, the first time it was
illusionary. She's that energy,
illusory.
Right? Illusory, that's the word.
That's the word.
Yeah. So Maya is like the Matrix, right? Maya is making sure that we are are
in the simulation,
that we're attracted to all these material things, because she is the most beautiful servant of Lord Krishna, and she wants to make sure that our love for Krishna is very, very genuine. So she puts on this whole world and says, go crazy, and we're attracted to all these things. But the only way to cross over, beat that energy, right, is to surrender to Krishna, right? Is that kind of the analogy for this one?
No, for sure. I mean, in the, I always like to look at the Sanskrit a little bit just to understand it further.
Yeah.
Because the English translation says, this divine energy of mine. And when you look at the exact translation, it's saying, it says this, my Maya. So like my energy, Maya is another word for energy, and this particular energy that you're, and it's a divine energy.
Yeah.
So how can you perceive this being in this sort of, what did we call it? This illusion, this
Matrix.
Some people call it something else. I just said it. I forgot.
Rat race. Maya. Illusion. Energy. Matrix.
I can't think of
Blue
the
pill.
word.
Red pill. What is it?
Anyways,
It'll come to you.
it will come to me at another point. But yes, why would this be a good thing, right? Why would it be that it is good for us to be an illusion? And it's not necessarily that it's good for us, but it is sort of a big sort of desire of ours to live in this material world, and that's part of its existence. And so Maya is a helper of Krishna,
Right.
like an assistant or some demigoddess that you could perceive that way.
She reports to Krishna.
Yeah. And she's here to have that particular role of keeping the illusion.
Right.
And what can get us out of that illusion? Surrendering to Krishna. And then
Right.
Krishna says to Maya, okay, let them go. Let them see. Let's see the blue pill or whichever one that's the correct pill that lets you see the reality.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of knowledge to be able to accept the reality of this world.
Oh,
And it's not that Krishna wants us to stay stuck in illusion. We have free will. And that's why we've said if we take one step towards Krishna, he'll take 10 steps towards us or 100 or whatever.
Yeah.
He wants us to turn to him. But until we choose to break free from the bondages, from enjoying, from identifying with our senses, then we'll just continue in this spiral. You know, I just want to highlight the beginning of the purport highlights how difficult it is to break free of this nature, because it says, we, the living entities, although we belong to the eternal, superior spiritual nature of the Lord, we've been contaminated by the inferior nature. We come into contact with matter. So then our illusion is also eternal. We're eternally conditioned, meaning that becoming released from the clutches of material nature is very difficult. It's no easy task. We've been eternally conditioned. Can you guys speak for a second? What does that mean if someone hears we've been eternally conditioned? Because that's the beginning. We're starting to break down what's our exactly our
it's
situation
like
here.
Pavlov's dog.
Okay,
Right?
what does that even mean?
So, okay, so there's this I might get the experiment wrong, but essentially there was this man who was this man named Pavlov, and he was trying to train his dog. And so every time it was time to eat, he rang a bell, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so he trained his dog that every time he would hear the bell, it was time for the dog to eat. And sometimes where he didn't have any food out, he would still ring the bell, but the dog would start to salivate because the dog he was conditioned to think, okay, now when the bell rings, it's time for me to eat.
Exactly. So because Krishna's saying the illusory energy comes from me, Krishna's eternal, his material nature is also eternal, which means we've been eternally conditioned. So these are like, Priya always gives the analogy of the ropes. The ropes have been in existence for a long, long time, throughout all of our millions of thousands of billions of births. Before we can even remember, we've been conditioned. From the time we chose to like engage in this material world and I want to enjoy, it's me. From the beginning of time immemorial, when we chose that, we've been conditioned. So that's why here they're saying, getting released from these clutches, the clutches run deep and it's difficult to break free.
So that material bell has been ringing,
It's
right?
been ding, 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 ding.
And then we go, I don't know if you can hear it, right?
It'd be great if you guys were here to see the faces.
You guys ready? We start salivating.
Priya, we didn't hear you do it. What is it?
I actually have a question for you.
Okay, what's the question?
Can I play devil's advocate and
Yes,
say,
Of course.
why does Maya even exist? I don't.
I mean, I can give you the spiritual reason, right?
Okay.
Like she is a demigod as exists, but you have to humor me for a second and believe in Hinduism for just a moment, right? She is the demigod that exists for the benefit of Krishna. She reports to the prime minister, right?
Yeah.
She's the secretary of illusion and she reports to the prime minister that is Krishna. And her job is to protect Krishna, to make sure that people who want to get to him really truly love him, right? And her job is to make it really hard. So she'll throw out, fancy cars and money and women and men and all of this stuff at you.
You're kind of
to
saying like,
see-
are you sure you don't want this?
yeah,
You don't want
you
that.
don't want this, you
Are
want
you
this,
sure you want
this.
Krishna?
But her job,
It's like that guy with the coat that he opens
the
and all
trench
the
coat,
clocks.
yeah. And there's a bunch of like Rolex watches, like
Yeah.
fake Rolex in his trench coat.
Yeah.
Maya's just like that man, right? That trench coat.
Because Krishna is so merciful. He wants us so badly to come back to him that we really need to want it. It can't just be like, I guess Krishna's an option for me. Maybe I want fame, but I could want Krishna. I guess I want Krishna. No, you have to really want it. But you know what? Someone in this sage group that my mom and I helped mentor said, yeah, makes sense to me why it would be difficult. I mean, how hard do Olympic athletes train just to achieve all these goals in the material world, right?
Yeah.
How much does an Olympic athlete train?
How much did you train when you were going, like you got it, like were qualified for the Argentine?
Yeah, I was about to represent Argentina in the 2014 Olympics. I was talking to the federation about to get a dual citizenship. And I would in the morning, take my school books, my lunch, everything to the rink, and I would train 8 hours a day, many sessions on the ice, on and off the ice. I would get home.
School.
Yeah, I'd do school while eating my lunch. Then I'd get home, go to the gym to continue training, get home, repack my bag for the next day, doing that 6 days a week, 350 days a year. I mean, everything.
For sure. And that's it.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
What were you doing that for? A piece of gold, right?
What was I?
Prestige. Like
Yeah.
what? Like
You're saying me,
what?
Shamali,
Yeah.
personally.
Like why? No. An Olympic athlete who's training to do this. What is the reward at the end of the day? Truly, what is it? Right.
Well, I mean, me personally, it wasn't prestige or the gold. In fact, I even thought of this when I tore the ligaments that ended my career. I thought if I really try hard to get back on the ice, what will it be? Another medal in the closet? That won't satisfy me. I loved the journey. I loved the discipline that it fostered. I loved training. Yeah. I really loved pushing myself to the extent of my mental and physical capacities.
You're an anomaly. You're spiritual.
No, I think a lot of athletes. Yeah, a lot of athletes have that mindset.
But like most athletes, no. I think Shalmi is way more spiritual than the typical athlete that's trying to win, right? But a typical athlete who's trying to strive for the Olympics, what do they want?
They want to be the best.
They want to be the best, but
prestige, recognition.
Right, that's true.
Pieces of metal.
Pieces of metal.
To give them a little credit, not that I know so many of them, but to give a little credit, yes, it is about like getting to a place and reaching a certain goal. But in order to actually make it there, to be an Olympian, to be all of this, the amount of effort,
so much work.
What Shamli was trying to say, I think, is like the concentration, the push that you have to do. It's a little bit of an spiritual experience in order for you to get to that level.
But I think you're disqualifying it by saying it's a spiritual experience.
No.
What do you mean?
Like it's not like I honestly don't know what you've been through, but there's so much work into it, right? There's so much discipline, so much hard work, but the result, what you're striving for is not spiritual.
Yes. I'm not saying that they're spiritual. I'm saying the process is a spiritual process. Because think about what we read in the Bhagavad Gita and how we talked about how, like, in order for us to even understand any of these things, we have to be disciplined. We have to be focused. We have to be this. We have to be that. All of these qualifications that are literally physical qualifications that actually help prepare the mind to be able to understand the philosophy better.
Right. We can leave it at, you know what? It's very subjective in the athlete's intention, because you do have athletes that is a very meditative thing, and they feel that when you get in the quote unquote the zone, the flow state, as many sports psychologists call it, that's the realm where the mundane or the material seeps into the spiritual, and you can feel like something is taking over when you relinquish that control, and I'm going to leave what I do up to a higher power. So there's all sorts of things that many athletes talk about, but ultimately, yes, it's not the ultimate goal of life. So the whole main point on that was, how much do we train for things that aren't even pure love of God? So love of God is not a cheap experience. So if we're going to invest so much effort to become the best in our scope, the best CEO, the best athlete, the best whatever you do in this realm, just imagine dedicating yourself and developing love of God is no cheap thing. And I mean, for myself personally, many of the qualities that I cultivated through ice skating, I'm super grateful for, because then I can dovetail it in Krishna consciousness and feel like that determination, that focus, all those things that I cultivated, learning about the inner workings of my mind and how to control it under pressure, totally connect to this philosophy, to meditation, to yoga.
Yeah. And to bring it back to kind of connect it back to what we were saying that Maya is like a bodyguard, or like this sort of distraction in front of saying, like, do you really want it? Do you really not? Right. And so, I mean, for something that might be more applicable to all of us, the journey of finding a life partner. it wasn't easy. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of like, are you sure you want this? Are you sure you want that? Like a lot of that. And maybe that's like obviously not the same as reaching Krishna in any capacity, but it gives you an idea of like, it takes effort to get to
So much hard work.
yeah, so much hard work to get to that love, right? That eternal love. And so going back to the point for the text, it's Prabhupada here.
Yeah, I forgot where we were for a second.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring it back. So Prabhupada is here saying something kind of important. So Maya is kind of a magician, the supreme magician, right? Because she's like, well, would you like this? And then your hand disappears. Would you like that? Are you sure you want Krishna? Like she's putting all these tricks and things in front of your face to really test your faith, test your conviction to want to go towards Krishna, right?
I do think they're saying the background of Maya is the supreme magician or the personality of Godhead, who is
Oh yeah, I do agree with Shamli on this. So
Maya is
behind
illusion.
Maya is Krishna, who is the supreme magician.
But I like how you worded it, because in that way, Maya can be a magician also. I see that because she
definitely has a trench
literally is
coat,
like,
right?
do you want this poof flowers? Do you want this poof bunny? Do you want this illusion? So she can be seen as a magician.
Right.
But then here it says, although Maya illusion is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the supreme magician.
I see. Krishna through her.
Right.
Behind.
Exactly. She's his devotee and he's the background, the supreme magician orchestrating his will through her.
Yeah.
So there's the personality of God. And you know, Priya, to your question you had asked earlier, playing devil's advocate, what is the purpose of Maya? Here, one line above that, they're saying, being conducted by divine will, material nature, although inferior, also another purpose is it acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation.
Break that down.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
That was a lot of words.
Material nature, even though it's not part of Krishna's superior energy, it's inferior.
Material nature. We're talking about
The world.
Okay.
The world that we live in.
Maya, the modes of material nature, within this
ignorance.
scope, right? That all acts to create and destroy the cosmic manifestation. So we can almost have a playground to enact our evolution, our desires, and ultimately, hopefully, break free and choose Krishna.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is our playground, the cosmos.
It's like I wouldn't say playground. It's like a false sense of playground.
Yeah.
It's a fake playground.
A mirage.
Yeah. It's a mirage. And once you get there, you're going to realize, oh man, that's not water. That was just a total mirage and I'm still thirsty.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, you're setting up like what the world looks like. And then Maya is sort of like the one in charge. Maya is the one kind of saying like, this is the mirage. Do you want the mirage or do you want the real stuff? Like, what do you want, right?
Remember, with all demigods though, they all still get their powers from Krishna.
They are within the jurisdiction of Maya.
Yeah. And so bringing it back to the last line of the verse, Krishna says, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross behind it, right? So he is the magician who's actually pulling all of the strings too. You know what I mean?
And
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, to add to that, it says, because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated.
What the bound and what's happening? Say that again.
So let's say that there's two people tied to ropes. They cannot help each other out. So whoever is going to rescue them has to not be bound, right? So they have to be liberated in the sense, because we're talking about bound as in like materially bound.
So like say there's two people who have handcuffs and they're sitting on chairs, right?
Yeah.
They can't help each other get untied.
But someone who is untied, which is
don't have
liberated,
handcuffs.
they don't have the handcuffs of the material world. They can help them. And Krishna is here saying that such a person is actually only Krishna or a representative of Krishna, such as a spiritual teacher.
And the reason, Priya, this point makes so much sense, because another word for the modes of material nature, which we've talked about, goodness, passion, ignorance, is guna. Guna literally means rope. So that's why it's understood that our soul is tightly roped by the ropes of illusion, holding us down. And that's why the metaphor of then the man who has his hands and feet bound up, he cannot free himself. They're bound by the modes, by the gunas, which literally means rope.
Going back to your handcuff analogy, right? So if there's dude A on one chair, handcuffed. Dude B, another chair, handcuffs. You're saying that the person who doesn't have the handcuffs can untie them both. Yeah. And that person is usually
a representative of Krishna, such as a spiritual teacher.
Boom. That's big.
Because they are not bound by the material world. They're not like giving up further. Like they're not like, oh, I need to eat so much, I'm going to overeat. They're not controlled by the senses. They're not controlled by the modes. They really are super singularly focused on the mission of understanding Krishna and sharing that with others.
And that's the way we get closer and like deeper in our own spiritual journey is learning from people who know a lot more than us.
Yeah, it's like saying the blind leading the blind. So this line I love, I'm going to read it again, what you had read, Priya. The bound cannot help the bound. The rescuer then must be liberated. So I remember seeing a bumper sticker on a car saying, don't follow me, I'm lost. So we need someone who has the roadmap. And this
I love that.
Bhagavad Gita is literally giving us the roadmap.
Yeah, you know what? I wish we had read that line from the earlier part because it makes a lot more sense. Let me read it one more time. I know we've read it twice now, but listen.
Repetition.
Are you going to say bound again?
Yes, I'm about to say it three, 4 times. Ready?
Great.
A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound, because the bound cannot help the bound. The rescuer must be liberated. It makes much more sense with
All
the
this
rest of
handcuff
it.
analogy makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Anything else?
After that, they say Krishna, being the Lord of the illusory energy, can order his insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. So he really orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul. So once we surrender unto him, like, Krishna, I'm tired of this material world, please save me. He definitely he's hoping, he's just there waiting for us to take that turn, that step towards him. And out of his paternal affection for us, the living entity, who were originally like the beloved son of the Lord, then he's just going to bestow his mercy and help us. You know, my spiritual master used to say, and he was such an elevated soul, he would say, I myself, I am no one great. I am no one special. It is just mercy that carries me. So in that state of complete surrender and humility, we call out for mercy because we realize on our own, I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
We're handcuffed. We can't do anything.
We are handcuffed.
Yep.
Also, like, just a super fun fact, a random fun fact. Both Brahma and Shiva, who are widely considered to be like powerful deities in Hinduism.
Yep. They're part of the Trinity. So Brahma is the creator. Vishnu is the maintainer, Vishnu or Krishna, and Shiva is the destroyer, right?
Right.
Yeah. And they're known usually at the same level, but go ahead.
They're usually known at the same level in Hinduism in some aspects. You know, the Hinduism is a big religionist, you know. But here, Prabhupada is clarifying that Brahma and Shiva are under Vishnu. They're under Krishna. They're his servants, and they are also influenced by Maya themselves.
Wow.
Right.
That's big, actually.
That's
I've never heard that before.
huge.
Yeah, that these really big demigods in Hinduism, they're part of the Trinity, right? Prabhupada's saying that these two are also under the influence of Maya, whereas the only person who's not is Krishna or Vishnu.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. That's really cool.
That's really cool.
I have a question for you guys under the theme of this text.
Yes.
Have you guys ever felt you were in a situation in life where, because here they're saying, it's so difficult. Life is so difficult. It's like an ocean of suffering that we can't cross unless we're surrendered unto him. And we talked about we're bound up and we need to get help from someone who's free or liberated. Has there been a moment where you've been in a really difficult situation? You felt by a stroke of mercy or light, someone, Krishna sent someone to help you, to assist you on this difficult path, to set you free, like a moment where you felt like, wow, Krishna is there totally just guiding me and is real. I know there's probably so many little moments that on the spot is hard to think of just one. I think everyone on their path will be like, you have tons of little moments of miracles that it all collectively accumulates to being like, whoa, I've been guided every step of the way and I'm in Krishna, the palm of his hand, and he's just guiding me. There's no moment that Krishna lets us go and is like, figure it out, loser. You turned away from me. Drown. Like, no.
I love this notion of Krishna saying, figure it out, loser.
No, he's a loving, compassionate God that literally is always there. He's not a detached, uninvolved parent. It's not just like when we're crying, like, Krishna, help me, then he'll be compassionate. He's always compassionate.
Do you want to go, Priya?
I mean, I'm going to say this for both of us, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we both have experienced many times in our lifetimes when Krishna has intervened. I'm talking about Shama Sankita and I, because I'm going to say something that you're going to understand why I'm saying this.
Oh boy.
But we both have goldfish memories. I don't know if you can think of something right now, but for me, the moment you asked this question, I was like, I know for a fact that there's been many times in my life where I was like, wow, Krishna's here. Like he's always protecting me. There's always someone or something that happens in a way where I feel very protected, but I cannot think of a single moment right now off the top of my head. And it's just like my memory. So,
I can think of one.
Nice.
Okay, so imagine me handcuffed to a chair, right? The only person that can
Is
help
this
me.
a makeup memory or like a
No,
real?
keep
Are
it
you-
PG. All right.
Are you making this up or is
No,
this
no,
real?
I'm taking the metaphor and turning into a story.
Okay.
Why do both of you just look at me like I'm crazy?
understand.
when
No,
I'm
she
just
said imagine your handcuffs. So I was like, oh, are we imagining a pretend story or a real story?
a little bit of both. A little from column A, a little from column B, okay?
right.
Anyway, so I'm trying to get unbound, right? So
Okay.
I think the closest to this was right after I graduated college. And you know, when you graduate, you're like you're like 22, you don't know who you are, and it's very confusing. And so I remember being helped out with by my mentor in the Bhakti tradition. Her name is Radha Bhakti, and she helped me so much with just the confusion of life, because a lot of life is very confusing,
Right.
you know? And so I remember being so confused about who I was supposed to be with, what kind of career I was supposed to have, like how do I find Krishna? Like I'm also doing all of these things that it's not considered Krishna conscious. Like how do I still be a spiritual person? Like she like helped me and like helped me understand, and like she was, I think, very unbound as a person. And so I feel like because she was the way that she was and so faithful and so much courage in her faith, like she was able to help me loosen at least one of the handcuffs. I think one of them is still tied back there. But I think that like people who know more and have more faith and like have lived through stuff, you know, can really help you with your own path. And so that's what happened for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so
Beautiful.
sorry for putting you into
Hey,
the goldfish analogy.
Mostly me and you are goldfishes. So like, most of the time you're on point. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what? The takeaway, I think, for everybody, find someone in your life who's a little bit more unbound than you and seek advice from them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're diving into this spiritual text that delivers information that can unbound yourself and your whole life. So spread it to someone that you feel is like really going through it, really in the ringer.
Yeah.
I mean, most people out there are suffering, you know?
Yeah, I think the call to action is twofold, right? So like if you know someone who is like interested in spirituality or have has these questions, like you can be that person for them.
Yeah.
And also if you want to go deeper in your own spirituality, you know someone who knows a lot more than you, please reach out, because I know that person would be dying to help you.
Yeah.
Just reach out and ask.
Yeah, see if there's a Bhakti Yoga community close to where you are, where you can go seek advice from monks, from teachers there that they know more. Maybe they have a book that you can continue reading yourself and try to see, is there a step where you can go a little deeper?
All right, and Priya.
Yes,
Your
so,
final
I
point
mean-
before we close out.
Yes. So I love this line. I think I love this line. It says, freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. So to kind of put it all together, being bound and all of this, the more we learn about Krishna, the more we are able to be free
Yeah.
from suffering, from all these things. And that's what we're doing right now. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
guys.
being here.
And we'll be back with the next episode, chapter 7, text number 15. Thanks so much for listening, everybody.
See you next time.
Bye. Hello, beautiful souls. If you like what you're hearing, please follow us on Instagram at Modern Yogi Podcast.
And if you love what you're hearing, please make sure to share a link to our podcast at Modern Yogi Podcast with all your friends, families, and long lost cousins.
And if you have any questions at all, send us a DM on Instagram at Modern Yogi Podcast, and we'll be sure to get back to you.
Thank you for listening to
The Modern Yogi.